congratulations. Great. Excellent. Great. Amazing. I can't wait to see what you're doing. All right. Gentlemen, how are you?
Thank you for having us.
I think these are more of the silent part of that aesthetic. That's a good word. And I'm a little more of the louder part of it, you know. So how are you?
Also recording now. Awesome. Hi, everyone. This is No Desk Poetry Concert. My name is Mahogany L. Browne. I am your host, and you have the pleasure of having a front seat to the founders' poetry concert reading. These folks, they are the pillars of so many communities. I honestly, I just wanted to see them read. So this is really for me. You lucked out. Yay, you. Who we're hearing from today is Maggie Smith. Go ahead and there's this little option on the bottom of your screen. It has a happy face or a thumbs up or a clap. Anytime you have a moment where you want to clap it up, because the poet is going in and making you feel the things that walking outside used to make you feel, or going to the bakery used to make you feel. Just the easy breezy life. Your blood is pumping in the best possible way. Feel free to throw up one of those beautiful reactions. I'm going to keep you all on mute to assure that we are all focused on the reader. But we thank you so much for joining us. Are you ready to begin? I'm going to pretend. Yes, thank you, thumbs up. See, this is working out well already. First up, reading, Maggie Smith. Woo! All the way from Columbus, Ohio. Hey. She received a BA from Ohio Wesleyan University in Ohio and an MFA from Ohio State University. In March 2019, Maggie served as the guest editor for Poem a Day with the Academy of American Poets. She works as a freelance writer and editor and serves as a consulting editor at large to the Kenyon Review. Her new book with Simon & Schuster, Keep Moving, is out in October 2020. Please put your pre-orders in now. Make some noise, clap it up. I'm going to keep the rest of the folks as we listen and learn and love Maggie Smith.
Hello, everybody, from my dining room. Thanks for having me. Thanks for that, Mo. So I asked earlier today if there were requests, and my mother made one. So I'm gonna start with a poem from my first book called Stella by Starlight, and this one's from my mom. Stella by Starlight. She's waiting for us inside. Someone's name is on the tip of her tongue. She calls my cousin the girl, and my cousin's son the baby. Today the girl brought the baby. Night comes on, a blue wash, cadet blue. The rain is nearly invisible. She's waiting inside, convinced the sofa has been reupholstered again, and what proves to be the same damask, worn and blue, she's had 30 years. Lucid moments are cruelest. She asks me where I've been, and then she's gone, calling her cigarette knife, grinding out her knife in the pewter ashtray shaped like a seashell. Her blue house slippers are embroidered with pink roses, green leaves. Her hair is set. Her heart is an instrumental on the old radio. She hums the melody. It's a song, and the name is... All right, so I thought I'd read some poems from Good Bones. The ones I'm not tired of yet. We all get tired of our poems, don't we? Sometimes. There's a series of poems in this book that I call nonnets, which is sort of like not quite sonnets. They're 14-line poems. And they were all inspired by questions that my daughter Violet asked in the car when she was 3 or 4 years old. So this poem is called Past, and the epigraph is the question she asked when she was 3, which is, what is the past? Something I've been thinking a lot about these past few weeks. We needed a word for everything before. See how my saying this is already there and there for good. No fishing it out of that deep water, the deepest there is. The past is a tide that drags out but won't return to shore. Even your question has been carried off. Look, you can see it floating. Anything heavier settles unseen like wreckage for a silver ribbon of fish to slip through. The past is not all distant. We can stand at its edge, watching the waves do the back-breaking work of pulling away. From the shore, the past seems to go on forever because it does. We say it was a different time, but all times are different. This one, for instance, and again, this one. All right. I also had a request for this poem, which is maybe the saddest poem I've ever written, but it also makes fun of my lack of exercise. So you can do those things in one poem. It's called Let's Not Begin. Let's not begin the poem with and, though it begins that way in spirit, one in a long list of, let's not call them grievances. I'm trying to love the world, I am, but is it too much to ask for 2 parts bees vibrating their cups of pollen, humming a perfect A note to 1 part sting? Worry and console, it's how I stay in shape. See, I'm sweating. Some nights my daughter cries, I don't want to be in the dirt, and this is what I call a workout. My heart's galloping hell and gone from the paddock. I don't want to be in the dirt because I'll miss you. And there's no stopping me. But let's not end with the heart as hoarse, fear-lathered, spooked deaf. I'm trying, I am, for her. If I list everything I love about the world, and if the list is long and heavy enough, I can lift it over and over. Repetitions, they're called, reps, to keep my heart on, to keep the dirt off. Let's begin with bees and the hum, and the honey singing on my tongue, and the child sleeping at last, and. Okay. I haven't read this poem in a while, so I thought I would read it. It's called Illustration. Night was a secret we kept from the children. They had never seen it except in picture books, the sky ombre, blue at the roofs, gone indigo, gone plum, gone black at the margins. Stars impossibly star-shaped, the moon flat and round. When after dark they pressed their palms to our windows, the children saw only themselves. If they thought of their hands as 5-pointed, they never let on. How many dimensions did we owe them? One more than we gave. The only depth they knew was depth of color. The only moon they knew, a white hole in the wallpaper. The only stars sharp-fingered and near enough to pick at it. The children weren't prepared for the night they'd find, finally stepping outside, the sky wholly black, black root to tip, the stars like freckles, they marveled, no shape at all. And the moon was so new, it was missing. Okay. I'll read Good Bones. I don't know this poem by heart, which seems sort of odd, but I don't. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways, 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways I'll keep from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there is a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I'm trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful. Okay, I thought I would read a couple newer ones. I found this poem and I haven't looked at it in a long time and I've never read it aloud, but it feels sort of right because it's set around Passover. So here we go. The title is "This Year the Role of Boiling Hail Will Be Played by Blank." My 4-year-old son says God made the planets, even Mars. Yeah, God's in space, he says. This is the same boy who played the boiling hail in his preschool Passover play, Each Child a Plague. I took pictures, his t-shirt covered with taped on red streamers and small white balloons. Some people believe in plagues, I told him. Some people believe that God set each planet in place, each moon and star. Can't you just see him with his tweezers and jeweler's eye, muttering under his breath and painstakingly affixing? Some people believe he set you here, I say, set me, that there are no mistakes. Some people believe that. I believe it, he says. And this poem first came out in the Adroit Journal, and I found it recently, and I thought, wow, this is sort of what it feels like to be in the house with children all the time again. It's called First Thaw. You must think this house is the world, the oven door a dark mirror in which to learn your face. We've been inside so long, you don't know a living thing when you see one through the window. Grackles blacking the dead grass, sycamores bone white and eerily double jointed. I bundle you to my chest and step outside, opening the umbrella. This is the world, a room that goes on and on, no walls, no buckling plaster or cracked ceiling. New as you aren't the only novice here. What I thought was a bird, a large, low-flying white bird, is a plastic bag. Even the rain knows only one shape. Look, it's drawing circles on the puddles. One more. I'm going to read one more poem. This one is from February's poetry magazine. And it's called How Dark the Beginning. I was thinking about how we always think of light as being the sign that good things are coming. And sometimes things have to get worse before they get better. And sometimes the beginning of a day is actually really dark. It's not that bright at all. All we ever talketh is light. Let there be light, there was light then, good light. But what I consider dawn is darker than all that. So many hours between the day receding and what we recognize as morning, the sun cresting like a wave that won't break over us, as if light were protective, as if no hearts were flayed, no bodies broken on a day like today. In any film, the sunrise tells us everything will be all right. Danger wouldn't dare show up now, dragging its shadow across the screen. We talk so much of light. Please, let me speak on behalf of the good dark. Let us talk more of how dark the beginning of a day is. Thank you.
Wow. The good dark. Thank you so much, Maggie. If you can look at the screen, folks are clapping and the hands are
I see
up.
hands.
Yes, thank you for that.
Thanks.
It was very difficult to not like move my face a lot. I was like, ooh, oh, oh, ooh. So I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, Maggie's book, Keep Moving, is coming out in October, but you can pre-order that joint now. Let's make sure we celebrate our poets right now, right here, while we have them, please, and thank you. Next up on deck, we have Beau Sia. Beau Sia he told me not to read this bio, to which I'm going to do it anyway. Beau Sia is a Tony Award-winning poet and world-renowned performer featured on all 6 seasons of Russell Simmons Presents Def Poetry and the winner of 2 National Poetry Slam championships. He is the author of the poetry books A Night Without Armor 2, The Revenge, and the undisputed greatest writer of all time. As an educator, he has been mentoring youth for organizations such as Youth Speaks, Urban Word, and Get Lit. Beau currently lives in Los Angeles, where he's working on his first solo play and is expecting his newest book, Well Played, out in June with Not a Cult. If you are ready like I am, make some noise at your homes, on the screen, wave your hands in the air like you must care, because that's the only way we're going to get through this, baby. Give it up for Beau Sia.
All right, thank y'all today and making the time. Oh shit, I'm muted now by the host. Oh, I'm unmuted by the host. Perfect, perfect. So thank you everyone for joining us. And like Mahogany said, I'm gonna recite some poems from my upcoming book, Well Played, right? Cool. This poem is called Can't Run Far Enough. Let's just do this real quick. It's all happening, and I keep acting like I can escape it, as if the knife can stop the hurricane, as if meditation alone prevents famine, as if the race war is a logical progression of thought, then poof, all gone, no loose ends, as if, fat chance, no luck roulette on this entitlement of outcome. I've got coping through addictions, waiting for saviors to set me free. I've got superhero sequels on the brain, got off the pedestal and saw what muck we've been festering. Oh, how we cheer for ourselves to miss the point eloquently. Dining out on luxuries till the meteor arrives, wishing on a revolutionary poster that can be gift wrapped and easy on the conscience, delving into a silo to be comforted while the core quakes, dimming the lights so we don't have to see around corners, denying the measles metaphor in every blinding privilege. And I'm sitting in my complaints box, begging to be read by the powers that be, as if I could spark anything more than a head nod. We'd be powerless on our concession to masters that knew we'd never read the terms of service. And I'm calling myself out to slow humanity's devolve in shuttered circles. And I'm doing just enough to be ahead of whack place. Like that will keep the wolf from bearing down on my neck, as if I can make the solution what's agreeable to my stomach. The gut receives what the tongue is tricked by. I want to share the next movement, but only know what's wrong with the rote choreo we think will win the championship. It's still escapism if you can't let in the world as it is to understand who you are. Most wake choosing to walk backwards to stay along familiar lines. And all of these go bags spell out where the living are unwilling to work. Ain't no Costa Rica for any of us to go to. Can't think your way out of the dragon's lair, especially when the smell of fear draws the fire of your reckoning. So yeah, that's that poem. And clearly, yelling in my own living room is a very different experience than in a stage or in a rehearsal studio. Fucking A, this computer shit is fucking weird, y'all. Okay, let me just keep it moving before I get freaked out by the screen. All right, this poem is called Not All White Male Poets. And as you can see, I italicized all, all and poets. So, you know, tap into your English American fluency and you can interpret what I meant in that context by italicizing them two particular words, right? Cool. All right. Not all white male poets. Lament out loud about black poets getting all the gigs. Are sick and tired of hearing another poem attacking them at the slam. Want you to introduce them to your Asian friend for fetish finally. Keep a non-white on standby to diversify the alabaster hall. Never uplift others to within striking distance of threatening their power. Think their poem about mailboxes way deeper than it is. Are upset they don't have a cave canem, oblivious to how everything before was their cave canem. Have no concept of everything they don't have to think about in order to be called poet. Have never lived the quick trigger firing of being labeled difficult. Think that every after party is great as long as the alcohol is free. Will never understand the yuck of being an exotic toy for a drunk poet's work. Doesn't get their entitlement to touch and the harm of ignored boundaries. Can't connect any of their success to the undergrad roommate who now runs Silicon something. Can act a royal fool and have it not condemn their demo. Only need the proof of concept of seeming confident. Haven't cut the cord to supremacy or noticed it sticking out their shirt. Claim bootstraps for everything that was access denied others. Prefer stealing ideas from women because what consequence if called out? Get treated like the first for writing it 7 years later. Have been embraced by one of the most talented Asians in the world who's lived this game. What? Are in circles where their allyship dissipates among red flags, are writing a book to proclaim all the things they possess mastery over, are trying to figure out how to flip this script and mark themselves victimized here, have a perfectly reasonable reason for these musings that wouldn't hold up in a court of law, have too much time on their hands wasted on orchestrating dismissal, instead of making the man in the mirror more than a karaoke song they think will get them laid. That's the end of that poem. Sometimes I don't end it in a way where you're gonna know. Evolve. All right, so I was very fortunate, you know, I don't know a lot of people anymore. I'm kind of reclusive and shit and everything. And asked a ton of people to read my book and blurb the book and all this other shit. And to y'all poets out there, Mahogany, Patricia, Maggie, if y'all want a copy to read, even if you don't feel like blurbing it, I'll just email you that PDF my publisher sent me just, you know, to have on hand and whatnot and shit. But a great author named Jelaine Lee, also a poet who wrote Not My White Savior, requested that I recite this poem from the book. It's called Growing Up Banana. How I learned what they say when no black people are around. What made ordering at Sizzler less gawkfest for family. Which gave me access contrary to the world of 80s sitcom, that I used like a tourist who thinks they can move somewhere after a nice weekend of visiting. Getting clowned for your eyes at the sleepover feels like being seen to the invisible, which is better than being ESL ridiculed daily, which is better than being blamed for the auto industry, which is better than being a walking enemy of war, which is the lie I kept scribbling in my journal. Unaware I was writing a post-dated letter to my younger self on how to discern between survival and fulfillment. That one. Good grave. I ain't read some of these out loud even to myself, so kind of catching me off guard sometimes. I'm not a big time practicer. I'm more like into training and shit. I think I'm near the end of my time because I'm notorious. Everyone in this room knows I can lose track of time on stage because I get to yell and these yells expand in ways motherfuckers don't like. I mean, you could ask anybody. Patricia been with me, plays, she's like, God damn, dude, they said 20 minutes. Anyway, I think this will be the last one to make sure I'm in that sweet spot, you know. And Mo will tell me where I'm really at because that concepts of linear is not so good for me. This is called Has Been. Wrote this for myself, but I wrote this also for an era we go through and an era we try to trap ourselves in and don't have to, okay? Called Has Been. Holy shit, it feels good to be a has-been. 'Cause you know me. Has been an addict to writing until I'd forgotten my face. Rage until I lost my voice. Regret until I started slow deathing the future. I has been a son blaming his parents for America, a friend getting got because never taught boundaries with white people, a partner chasing love to run from everything I don't like about myself. I has been forcing the issue instead of listening to my heart. I has been unaware of anxiety until I combed at the party. I has been insecure to the point of staying on my knees for belonging. Has been the poet who helped white poets feel diverse. Has been the poet who gave passes to white men's verse. Has been the poet hiding worthless at the expense of others through brat expressions of power. Has been the poet who almost kept working with death. Has been the poet who almost got stuck in the Beats bedroom. Has been the poet who almost forgot the plot twist in the legend's story. I accept whatever fate befalls me, because I has been too hung up on getting mine, too victimhood as denial tool, too fuckboy in a love ploy, who has been so depressed shutting it out, so depressed letting it be definitive, so depressed wondering why my life didn't turn out the way early accolades suggested it would based on all the things I'd read by colorless poets in the quiet room, didn't see that the trophies, the trinkets, and the treats of triumph weren't the only things I has been. Stuck in diminishing returns of celebrated angst, was once the dragon sleepwalking through caverns claiming golden, waking in truth to release this regret, beginning to let go of all that deludes and the standing O, standing in my own, growing out of all the things I've been that would never fulfill this destiny. Thanks. Now you see, Patricia, I gave that slam ending so you knew it was done. You see how I did that shit? I wrote that one so you knew that's the clap time. Destiny.
Give it up for Beau Sia with the clap time. That's the quotable. That's the quotable. Thank you, Beau Sia. Yes, please send me the PDF. I'm ready to read and blurb and do whatever is asked.
You got that.
That job was fire. More fire. Okay, are y'all ready for your next poet? Say, oh yeah, at your house. On mute. Yes, I like it. I like it. We have Bob Holman, who is about to read. Bob, are you there? Bob?
I am certainly here, as you are certainly here too.
This is the reason that this is all happening. Bob said, if I could rock with folks that, you know, I adore and who I consider founders as well, these are the folks. So I'm so excited to host and bring to the forefront the founder of the Bowery Poetry Club since 2001. That's the big work right there. For his decades of work in service to the arts and community in New York and beyond, Holman has received numerous community awards, including the Poets and Writers Barnes and Noble Writers for Writers Award in 2003, NYU Community Citizen of the Year Award in 2005, the Elizabeth Cray Poetry Award from Poets House in 2006, Zebra Film Festival's Foundry of Poetry Video Award in 2010, the 2011 Hearing Our Voices Award from Voices Unbroken Incarcerated Youth Program, the 2011 Villager Award from Greenwich Village Historical Preservation Society, and the 2012 Urban Word Champion Award. Whoa, deep breath. In 2019, he gave readings in Chile and made a poetry film in Rapa. He's published 2 new books, written 50 Years Apart, Life Poem, a book-length poem written in 1969, and The Unspoken, recent and selected poems from YBK Bowery Books. Are you ready, dear sir?
I guess I am. Thank you.
Yes. So excited to have you. Clap it up for Bob Holman.
Thank you. And so great to have Mo be the continuation of what's going on at the Bowery. Our new director, working right here, new directions happening all over town at Gathering of the Tribes. Steve Cannon's joint. Chavisa Woods is the new director. She's watching us, listening to us here today. Lots of things been going on as we've all been sequestered or quarantined. And in my family, both of my daughters have had babies in the last 3 months. And I get to see them every day on FaceTime. But one daughter, Daisy, told me that her 4-year-old, let's see, Sophie has a daughter named Eileen that was born on December 29th. And Daisy has her second daughter, Ramona, who's, no, Ramona's the first. Let me keep them straight here. Helen, who was born on March the 30th. So she said that Helen had never heard me do this poem called The Other Thought, The Impossible Rap. It's a poem that in the last 4 years, I've probably done about 20 or 30 times, but Ramona's never been in the audience. So Ramona, this is going out to you. And for the rest of us, this is an example of fascism, how fascism begins at home. We have to always be on the alert for it. So why not think the other thought? Now, last night, just as I was passing into sleep, one final thought began to race me to the dream, intercepting the sweet powers of Morpheus and pressing me to wakefulness and purpose. I drew my pen and prepared to set down this marvel, the final thought of my existence, or so it seemed. The thought itself was panting, near death as I retrieved it. It called itself the other thought. What? A thought appearing in my mind that's not of my thinking? A thought I thought I'd exiled that thought, banished it as not of me, not me enough. Then what should happen but the other thought should say to me, please shut up. And then the other thought continued. Do not dwell upon the political implications inherent in your own inability to entertain any but your own precious thoughts, buddy. Rather, amend your ways to allow other thoughts existence. Write not the poem, write the other poem. Oh, 'tis impossible, I countered, for by so doing, by giving vent to the other, am I not precluding the very basis of my own existence, the essence of me? And at that, the other thought became a shiver that scoured my spine, and I find myself engaged in application. To wrap the rap of the truest groove, there's no stopgap from the first remove. This either or thing is just one more thing. A touch too much, a tad too bad, a bit too wit, a mite too tight, explode in your mind, a tiny grenade, leaving the impression the other thought made. Oh, the other thought. I never thought the other thought. I never thought the other thought. I never thought. Wait a second. Wait a second. This is impossible. It's impossible, but undeniable. It's ubiquitous. Don't hold me liable. I might as well go to bed. Chill that hot thought head. Good night. Sleep tight. Twixt waking and sleeping, the other thought is seeping into place right before your face with a certain grace. Well, in that case, is it impossible? A sine qua non. It's a itsy bitsy skitsy. Other thoughts on the phone. It's so humiliating when your brain is on-co-waiting. It's so humiliating when your brain is on-co-waiting. Back before you thought it. Back before you were there too. How do you do? Is your thick on the blink? What is it to you? You can't tell what from what not. Well, that's what the other thoughts thought. Oh, that's real clear. Take your tongue out of my ear. Another other thought is surfacing. The surface disappears. Caramba, take a number. Get in line with your mind. Get in line with your mind. I'm in with the out crowd. The other thoughts crying out loud. Take the alternate, take the alternate, take the alternate, take the alternate, take. Oh, the rest of resolution is not a solution. The impossible rap is ready to appear. Is it possible that you are ready to hear? It's got something to do with what you just said. The thought you can't remember in the back of your head. The dream you don't surrender when you get out of bed. Just return to sender. Think the other thought instead in order to transcend the end. That's the way it ends without the ending. Oh, you know, that piece is on the album In With the Outcrowd, named by Hal Wilner, who died of the coronavirus this past week. Last night, Saturday Night Live did a wonderful remembrance of Hal. Another poem from the album that he liked very much is We Are the Dinosaur. Blast open the gates to kingdom come. Whoops, what happened to everyone? I planted a seed, it grew into a gun. Dum, 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 dum. A life is a riot living in a cartoon. Ice age in a dumpster, that's our living room. Set fire to your roof, get a better view. Global warming is a warning. Toodaloo, we are the dinosaur. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for, so follow the dinosaur. Ho, ho, Homo sapiens, you ain't so smart. Kaka kamikaze friends, which way is the ark? The world is dialing 911. The don't walk sign just changed to you better run. What we've been waiting for has long since come, and dum, da, dum, 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 dum. Cross the scorching sands with my big fat feet. You know it's hard becoming diesel fuel with nothing to eat. Better quick, catch us quick. We're out of here. We're pre-winged birds. We tend to disappear. Hurry, disappear. Back to the past. Did you really think the future was gonna last? It's ending with a bang, so let's have a blast. Tonight, dine cannibal. What a contrast. Chauffeured ambulances race into the prom. Santa, please bring me a neutron bomb. Recycle the planet before the earth is a grave. But excuse me, I gotta get back to my cave, cause we are the dinosaur. We don't live here anymore. We got what we were asking for, so follow the dinosaur. Yep, that's from this book here, The Collect Call of the Wild, if anybody can remember what a collect call is. That's a painting by Elizabeth Murray, my wife, and there's a painting by her behind me as well. I guess we're spending the time now alone with the alone, as Plotinus said. Either that, or we are all realizing that no person is an island, entire until ourselves. We are all part of the continent, a piece of the main. Certainly, the way the coronavirus is ripping through us connects us all, but so does our reaction to it. You know, I'm thinking now of That was John Donne, by the way, who said that about the no person is an island, which concludes, don't ask for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. I wanted to read a little bit of Tongo Eisenmartin, who's doing the workshop here for Bowery Poetry. The best the dead can do is let me play doorman. I'm homeless again. Let me borrow your blackbirds. Show them around the city. Show them the alley carpets. And everywhere else, I cut out a patch for my mask, says Tongo. And I look out the window here on the Bowery, on the 3rd floor above the shuttered Bowery Poetry Club. And indeed, it's ghosts and sirens. The homeless do own the streets, and in the subways, the working stiffs. You know, never have we seen the class division so clearly delineated, you know? And it reminds me of what Joseph Campbell said, our ignorance and complacency are dying. And that's what's happening. No matter what shifts we're going through, that's what happens when we come out of the shell. Ignorance and complacency, dead. Here's some short poems from one of the 2 books that Mahogany was talking about. This is The Unspoken, and I'm just reading some short poems here. Every word in a poem is a poem. That one will keep you up at night, and so does this one. How to wake up. 1, go to sleep. Thank you very much. The poem does not miss the paper. One of my favorites. Yeah. Slam is the lighthouse. Slam is the lighthouse for the democratization of art. And the open mic is where poetry shines on the world. Poets, we've got our missions out there. Keep it up. And finally, from this book, The Secret of Life. If it's a secret, it's not life. There it is. Okay. Don't keep these poems secrets, okay? Whatever you do. I'm going to read now from the book I wrote when I was 19, and that's what I looked like. A book-length poem called Life Poem. And I'll just read the thrilling conclusion of this book-length poem. Stop, go back, reread. Here, you forgot these, the eyes. They plop down here. Put them in the right way, or else watch the inside of your mind. Poems cough and metaphors hide. Do parables describe or disguise? If I wrote in rhymes, would you read easier? If I didn't write at all, would you breathe easier? Do the words get in the way? Have you discovered yet that this is not a book? Poetry is a stance. Accept it and see. If you close your eyes and see the dancing spots, you will have created art. Should you open them to the world, you have created life. This life poem jogs along on the tip of your eyelash. Your witness. I'd like to conclude with just a little brief tip of the hat to Steve Cannon, whose 85th birthday it was 2 days ago, the founder of the Gathering of the Tribes. You should go check out all the changes that Trevisa and the board are making these days. But here's some words for Steve to carry us on after a hard rain. He's gone from the hillside that demands reparations. He's gone from the interchange that never stops changing. He's gone from the poem that will never be spoken. He's gone from the gathering where all tribes are represented. He's gone from the future that he was already living. He's gone from the emails he deletes before receiving. He's hammering the verses on whalebones and cardboard. He's drifting in consciousness where no one can find him. He manifests his destiny inside of a flower. His victory will always be us just sitting around. And that's the victory that I think we're looking for, that time we can just all be sitting around together again. So I want you to know I'm holding you all, and I love you all. Thank you so much for being here today. Poetry lives.
Give it up for Bob Holman. Claps, snaps, throw them high fives in the air. Thank you, Bob. Thank you for bringing me on board and believing in me and thinking of me in this way that I didn't really consider. I appreciate it. I'm happy to see what happens next with PC and with you. Thanks for that work. And last but not least, here to close out our reading, Patricia Smith. Her many accomplishments include a Guggenheim Fellowship, acceptance at Citavelian, a National Endowment for the Arts grant recipient, a two-time winner of the Pushcart Prize. Her work has appeared in Best American Poetry, Best American Essays, and Best American Mystery Stories. She has written and performed 2 one-woman plays, one of which was produced by Derek Walcott's Trinidad Theater Workshop. Patricia Smith is a Cave Canem faculty member, teaches in the MFA program at Sierra Nevada College, and is a professor of creative writing at the City University of New York, College of Staten Island. She lives in Howell, New Jersey. She is my pillar. She is who I want to grow up and be if I ever had the chutzpah to get it done right. Welcome to the screen, the one and only Patricia Smith.
Thank you, Mo.
I
love you too. Oh, let's see. Okay, so Smokey Robinson is my poet. It's the first poet I ever heard. It's how I learned meter and rhyme and narrative. So Smokey Robinson is turning 80 years old. So I wanted to do a couple of Motown poems. Hope that's okay with everybody, because that's what we're doing. Okay. A colored girl will slice you if you talk wrong about Motown. The men and women who coupled, causing us, first arrived confounded. Surrounded by teetering towers of no, not now, and you should have known better, they cowered and built little boxes of northern home, crammed themselves inside, feasted on the familiar of fat skin and the unskimmed, made gods of doors. When we came, the same insistent, bloody, and questioned we would have been down south, they clutched us, plumped us on government cereal drenched in carnation milk, slathered our faces, our fat wiggling arms and legs with Vaseline. We shined like the new things we were. The city squared its teeth, smiled oil, smelled the sour each hour left at the corner of our mouths. Our parents threw darts at the day. They romanced shut factories, waged hot battles with skittering roaches and vermin, lumbered after hunches. Their newborn children grew like streetlights. We grew like insurance payments. We grew like resentment. And since no tall sweet gum thrived to offer its shouldered shade, no front porch lesson spun wide to craft our wrong or righteous, our parents loosed us into the crumble, into the glass, into the hips of a new city. They trusted exploded summer hydrants, scarlet licorice whips, and crumbling rocks of government cheese to conjure a sort of joy. Trusted joy to school us in the woeful limits of jukeboxes and moonwash. Freshly dunked in church water, slapped away from double negatives and country ways, we were orphans of the North Star, dutifully sanctified, our young bodies arranged on sharp slabs of boulevard. We learned what we needed, not from our parents and their rumored South, but from the gospel seeping through the sad gap in Mary Wells' grin. Smoky, slow-sketched pictures of our husbands, their future skins flooded with white light, their voices all remorse and atmospheric coup. Little Stevie squeezed his eyes shut on the soul notes, replacing his dark with ours. Diana was the bone our mamas coveted. The flow of slip silver they knew was buried deep beneath their rollicking heft. Every lyric, growled or sweet from perfect bound throats, was instruction. Sit pert, pout, and steam silk. Then watch him beg. Every spun line was consolation. You're such a good girl. If he has not arrived, he will. Every wall of horn, every slick choreographed swivel threaded us with the rhythm of the mildly wild. We slept with transistor radios, worked the 2 silver knobs, one tiny earbud blocking out the roar of our parents' tardy attempts to retrieve us. Instead, we snuggled with the Temptations, lined up 5 pretty brown men across, and damned if they didn't start every one of their songs with the same word. Girl? Thank you. Thank you. All right. Motown Crown. And then I'll be done. Hi, Mom. The Temps, all swerve and pivot, conjured schemes that had us skipping school. Made us forget how Mama schooled us hard against the threat of 5-part harmony and shark-skinned seams. We spent our school days balanced on the beams of moon we wished upon, the needle jet black 45s that spun and hadn't yet become the dizzy spinning of our dreams. Sugar pie, honey bunch, oh, you loved our tangled hair and rusty knees. Marvin Gaye slowed down while we gave chase, then wowed us with his skinny hips on cue. We hungered for the anguished screech of please from soulful throats, relentless and booming bass. From soulful throats, relentless booming bass softened with the turn of Smokey's key. His languid, liquid, luscious, aching plea for bodies we didn't have yet made a case for lying to ourselves. He would embrace our naps and raging pimples. We could see his croon inside our clothes. His pedigree of milky, flawless skin meant we'd replace our daddies with his fine and lanky frame. I did you wrong, my heart went out to play, he serenaded, filling up the space that separated smoke from certain flame. We couldn't comprehend the drug of him, his sway, silk where his throat should be. He growled, such grace. Silk where his throat should be and growling grace, little Stevie made us wonder why we even needed sight. His rhythm eye could see us click our hips and pump in place whenever he cut loose. Oh, we'd unlace our Converse All-Stars. Yeah, we wondered why we couldn't get down without our shoes. We tried to dance and keep up with his funky pace of hiss and howl and hum, and then he'd slow to twist our hearts until he heard them crack, ignoring lonesome, leaking from the seams. The rockin' blind boy couldn't help but show us light. We wailed his every soulful track through open windows and neath the door, pipe dreams. Through open windows and neath the door, pipe dreams served up Bone, Bouffant, the Serpentine, and bug-eyed Lady D, the boisterous queen of overdone, her body built from beams of awkward light. Her slithering extremes just made us feel so small, insanely lean. Everywhere she stepped, she caused a scene. We craved her wigs and waist and crafted schemes that would ensure our hips would soon be thin, that we hear symphonies, wouldn't hurry, love, because Diana said, make sure it gleams no matter what it is. Her different spin, a voice like sugar air, no inkling of that soul beneath the vinyl, the Supremes. That soul beneath the vinyl, the Supremes knew nothing of it. They were breathy sighs and flowing hips, soul music's booby prize. But Mary Wells, so drained of self-esteem, was a pudgy barstool riding bucktooth dream who none of us would dare to idolize out loud. She had our nightmares memorized, and like or like it not, she wailed our theme while her too blackness made us ill at ease, and we smeared Ultra on to reach for white. When Mary's My Guy blared, we didn't think race, because there was all that romance and the keys that Motown held. Unlocked, we'd soon ignite. We stockpiled sequins just in case. We stockpiled sequins just in case the Marvelettes pronounced we'd benefit from little dabs of shine. If we could get inside their swirl, a kind of naughty place, we knew that all the boys would have to brace themselves against our heat, much too legit to dress up as some other thing. We split our blue jeans trying to match their pace, and soon our breasts began to pop. We spoke in bluer tones, and Berry Gordy looked and licked his lips. Our only saving grace, the luscious, liquid, languid tone of smoke, the soundtrack, while our 8-cup bras unhooked. Our sudden Negro hips required more space. Our sudden Negro hips required more space, but we pretended not to feel that spill that changed the way we walked. And yes, we still felt nappy, awkward, strangely out of place, while Motown crammed our eager hearts with lace and storylines. Romance was all uphill. No push, no prod, no bitter magic pill could lift us to its light, and not a trace of prizes they said we'd already won. As mamas called on Jesus, shook their heads and mourned our Delta names, we didn't dare to care. Religion? There was only one. We took transistor preachers to our beds, and Smokey sang a lyric, dripping cream. While Smokey sang a lyric, dripping cream, Levi tried to woo us with his growl. I can't help myself. Admitted with a scowl, this bit of weakness was a clever scheme to keep us screaming, front row, under gleam of lights, beside the speakers blasting vowels, we rocked and we screamed. Levi, on the prowl, glowed black, a savior in the stage light's gleam. But then the stage light dimmed, and there we were in bodies primed for what? We didn't know. We sang off key while skipping home alone. Deceptions that you sing tend to blur and disappear in dance. Why is that so? Ask any colored girl and she will moan. Ask any colored girl and she will moan and answer with a downbeat and a sleek 5-part croon. She's dazzled and she'll shriek what she's been taught. She won't be long alone or crazed with wanting more. One day she'll own that quiet heart that Motown taught to speak. She'll know that being the same makes her unique. She'll worship at the God of microphone until the bass line booms, until some old temptation leers and says, I'll take you home and heal you in the way the music vowed. She's mesmerized, his moves, his tooth is gold. She dances to the drumbeat of his poem, remembering how love had lied so loud. Remembering how love had lied so loud, we tangled in the rhythms that we chose. Seduced by thump and sequins, heaven knows we tried to live our hopeful lives unbowed, but bending led to break. We were so proud to mirror every lyric. Radio spit beg and mend, and sturdy stereos told us what we were and weren't allowed. Our daddies sweat in factories while we found other daddies under limelight's glow. Desperate, we begged them to illuminate the glitter lives they said would save us, but instead, the crippling blow. We whimpered while the downbeat dangled bait. We whimpered while the downbeat dangled bait. We leapt and swallowed all the music said while Smokey laughed and Marvin fell and bled. Their sitting slapped us hard and slapped us straight. And even then we listened for the great announcement of the drum, for tune to spread, a marvelette to pick up on the thread. But as we know by now, it's much too late to reconsider love or claw our way through all the glow they tossed to slow our roll. What we know now, we should have always known. When Smokey winked at us and whispered, they don't love you like I do, he snagged our soul. We wound up doing the slow drag all alone. They made us do the slow drag all alone. They made us kiss our mirrors, deal with heat and hips we couldn't control. They danced deceit, and we did too, addicted to the drone of revelation and the verses thrown our way. Oh, love will rock your world. The sweet, sweet fairy tale we spin will certainly beat the real thing any day. Oh yes, we own you now. We sang you, pliable and clueless, waiting, waiting, waiting. Oh, the dream you'll hug one day, the boy who craves you right out loud in front of everyone. But we told you, we know we did. We preached it with a shrug. less than perfect love was not allowed. Less than perfect love was not allowed. Temptations begged as if their every sway depended on you coming home to stay. Diana whispered air, aloof and proud, to be the perfect girl beneath a shroud of glitter and a fright she held at bay. And Michael Jackson, flailing in the fray of daddy love, succumbed to every crowd. What would we have done if not for them, wooing us with roses carved of sound and hiding muck we're born to navigate? Little did we know that they'd condemn us to live so tethered to the ground, while every song they sang told us to wait. Every song they sang told us to wait, and wait we did, our gangly heartbeats stunned and holding place. Already so outgunned, we little girls obeyed. And now it's late, and CDs spinning just intimidate. The songs all say, just look at what you've done. You've wished through your whole life, and one by one your trusting sisters realize they don't rate. So now, at 60 plus, I turn around and see the glittering drifting in my wake and mingling with the dirt. My dingy dreams are shoved high on the shelf. They're wrapped and bound so I can't see and contemplate that ache. The temps all swirl and pivot, conjured schemes. The temps all swirl and pivot, conjured schemes. From soulful throats, relentless booming bass, then silk where throats should be. Much growling grace, from open window, neath the door, pipe dreams that sold beneath the vinyl. The Supremes used to stockpile extra sequins just in case Diana's Negro hips required more space, while Smokey penned a lyric dripping cream. Ask any colored girl and she will moan, remembering how love had lied so loud. I whimpered while the downbeat dangled bait and taught myself to slow drag all alone. Less than perfect love was not allowed, and every song they sang told me to wait. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you. It occurred to me two things. One is I shouldn't have read the first poem because the crown was so long. And the second thing is there's a line in there that says, so now at 50 plus, and I had to change it.
Too bad you don't look it, so you could just keep it. Just keep it as it is.
Thank you, baby girl.
You're looking good. Now we have a couple of questions. Just before y'all go, I'm gonna unmute Bob and Beau and Maggie. Folks, please make some noise for the folks, for the readers, for our amazing readers. How dope are they? They really gave us their all for an hour. So my question would be, how did you, I don't know if you knew that you would become legendary at this, but you are. So how would you give advice on creating the foundation for your work to continue, for your community engagement to continue, and for your wellness to to continue? Like, we need all of those things to be balanced.
Wow.
No pressure.
No. None. Biggest question ever. No.
I know.
Oh, wow. You know what? I think what's really miraculous is, I'm always telling my students that you should consider yourself a storyteller above all else. I know we all slap our different genres on, and then even within the genres, we've got, performance and slam and so-called academy poets, all of which is nonsense. But if we can just remember the inherent power of the story, even when we were slamming and doing things like that, it was a device and it was a way to get words out there. But what we were really doing was showing up someplace with rooms full of strangers, and everyone, it was critically important to them to get their story out into the open air, And when I look around and at a certain point I thought, well, I'm this age, or, at this stage, and who my audience is. But I love the fact that I can see, you know, high schoolers and middle schoolers and all that. And I think what we've, or what we all try to do is let them know how important their stories are as early as we can. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if it's in verse, it doesn't matter if it's a rap song, it doesn't matter anything. If we could convince people that there is always an audience for your story, I think that that's where it needs to begin. And so mm-hmm. while, you know, I love how people say, well, why are you still hanging out with 19-year-olds doing poetry for them? And why are you going into these schools? And you don't have to do these things now, you know. I think they misunderstand why I got into poetry in the first place and why I stay in it. You know, just know there are no lines, there are no boundaries. And if we can keep doing that, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at Beau Sia. Beau and I go back like 85 years now, I think, you know, and still, you know, his stories are effective as they were the first time that I saw him. Yeah. And it was interesting to see people say, oh, Beau's going to be on it. It's going to be great, you know. But I think that we have a real appreciation for the stories we've been telling each other all these years, and just making seeing the realm widen and everybody's story fitting inside.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to say on this that I always knew I would be a legend. Number one. Number two, that really, the time I was 15, I was like, I'm fucking gonna take this shit, right? But I would say this to everyone who's young: you do not want to pay that price to chase that thing. I would say that, like, to chase after that thing, to build the requisite number of accomplishments and whatnot, so that within your field everyone acknowledges you as such, both in how they pay you and how they give to you and how they excuse your shit behavior. You don't want to chase that thing. You really don't. What you really want to do, and this is coming from paying the price. This is not coming from, hey, you want to be a good person. This is coming from, oh, I really tried to fucking get all that shit, and I thought it would solve everything going and raging within myself. FYI, does not accomplish that shit. So I would say like two parts. Number one, so grateful. You know, though I've never met Maggie Smith, I read her tweets and they inspire me, just motivate me on down days. It's so crazy. I didn't even know this was going to happen, and it blew my mind. But second to that, Bob and Patricia have been examples in my life. And so they talk about being around young people, and young people like me back then, they knew me as a teenager. I didn't hear anything they fucking said. I didn't listen to anything they said. I had my own ideas. I was going to be great. Fuck them. But their example, their continuing willingness of compassion to not like outright condemn me to my face, but be an example of something I could maybe one day be open enough to receive, been very beneficial to me when I started coming out of this thing, where I recognized like, oh, if I'm not right with me, everything else is fucked. So let me say this to all you young people. This is the last thing on the legend thing, because I love what Patricia said on the story thing. I want you to add one little layer. You need that art to get true with yourself. Really true. Even if you show it to fucking no one, you got to go to all those fucking nuanced places within yourself. You spend a lifetime doing it. Here's why. Not so you become great, not so you become a legend, but so that you reduce the amount of ways you lie to yourself and therefore cost you and those around you that you love. The thing's tricky about writing words real fucking good. You can write elaborate narratives of how you want the world to see you and how you want to see yourself. So when you get down to that page, when you open up and let in those great mentors that paid the price, remember this: the reason why you get right, get true, get honest with yourself is so that you do not cost you or those you love through the lies you keep perpetuating. Maybe that's projecting.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so at all.
I felt a couple of moments like, oh, yeah, get true with yourself.
I mean, like, what I would say is maybe the best advice I've gotten is to fiercely protect your inner life. And I think that becomes even trickier maybe it's kind of easy right now because we don't have outer lives.
Right.
Or we have like very, very shriveled up outer lives.
Yeah.
But, you know, especially with social media and with everything, it just seems like it's so much easier to project out and project out and project out and project out. And that's not where the work is made. It's like the small, you know, kiln where the work is made is like very, very internal. And I think the best thing you can do, not for your career, maybe the best thing you can do for your career as a poet is not think about it as a career. The best thing you can do for your career as a poet is focus on the work. And that means focusing on that little quiet interior space and not worrying so much about the static around you. And I know that's easier said than done for so many reasons, but you know, like letting yourself get weird and be yourself and not worrying so much about where it's going to land or who's going to read it or who's going to get it or who's going to buy it, or if just sort of creating in as pure a space as you can and then shoving the thing out and letting it go, and just sort of maybe ameliorating some of the anxiety about that pushing out time by just getting back to fucking work and doing the next thing instead of watching the thing leave the nest and worry about who's going to see it and what they're going to think. And I think if we just focus on the work, maybe that's the best way we can not get wrapped up in the rest of it. I don't know. That's all that works for me. Because if I think too much about the other stuff, I'd stop doing it.
Right. Thanks, Maggie. Bob?
Okay, I'll speak up here. I'm just going to tell you, I'll tell you some of those stories like Patricia's talking about what we should do. And, you know, I mean, Patricia and I were there at the very beginning of the Poetry Slam when we were forming a community. And it really was, and we still are. I don't know. Slam itself has gone off in a lot of different directions, but what we had there at the beginning, and I think that's one of the neat things about starting something, is that if you're there at the beginning, you ain't institutionalized yet. You know, and is that a necessary step? I don't know. It seems to happen a lot. I don't know. But another thing, I'm thinking now about seeing Gwendolyn Brooks at the New Eureka Poets Cafe when she came to the Poetry Slam and then stayed for the open mic. And by stay at the open mic, she did what she always did, which was she stayed till the end of the open mic at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that's just what she did. That was, you know, I mean, there's a way in which the service to be in the service of the poem and the poet is to, you know, to understand that about community. That's not for everybody, you know. It's, I mean, if you go and write the great poems, that's all you need to do. But when I was lucky enough to get a job with CETA, C-E-T-A, the Comprehensive Employment and Training Act of 1977, and work as a community poet for 5 years. And I got paid to be a poet. 1 day a week was for me to write, and the other days I was in different communities. That led me to get a job at the Poetry Project, St. Mark's Church. And then from St. Mark's, I moved over to New Eureka and helped reopen that place, you know, and then the Bowery. So it just is, you know, some people do it that way. And that's, Mahogany, I guess it's all started because you read, unlike anybody ever has done for my bio today, the community stuff, you know? I mean, you know, usually it's where you taught, what you published, but you read the community stuff. And so with that, I take, you know, especially in this time, again, of such great solitude and yet such great connectedness, that we gotta, you know, we got time to think about it. And I urge everybody to take the time. Don't get running around to everything. I mean, the internet now is exploding just the way it happens outside, right? Don't worry about it. You know, go where you want to go and write the poems. You know?
Yes. Thank you so much, Bob Holman, Maggie Smith, Patricia Smith, Beau Sia. Give it up for everyone. I'm going to unmute them all at the same time so they can clap for you at the end of this. I just want to give out a couple of announcements before we close out. As of Thursday, we will be finishing up our writing workshops with Tongo Eisen Martin. There are 2 spaces still open for the folks who are looking for low-cost writing workshops. It is available. Just email the same email address that you emailed for this Zoom link. On Wednesday is our free Wednesday writing sessions. The next one is with Amanda Torres. The last 2 are still up on our IGTV, which is with Mara de Valle and Caroline Rothstein. And closing out the month will be Jose Alaveres. Next Monday, April 20th, which is my birthday. Oh, snap. I get to do what? Go to a writing workshop with Idrissa Simmons right here on Zoom. And it's called The Sixth Stage in Awe and Wonderment. It's about writing through grief. And it's a 1-day seminar. It's really dope. Feel free to sign up for that. And starting Sunday the 19th with Adam Faulkner, for only 2 Sunday sessions, we have Writing with Joy. Especially in this time of art and Corona, I need to figure out all the ways in which to access the joy and get through the grief. So I'm going to be at each and every workshop. All of this is available courtesy of Bowery Poetry, some new programming we have going on. Open mics, folks have been asking, when is it happening? The next and first open mic is Abuela's Backyard with Alexis Sia on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That is on live. We're looking to figure out which one works better. Y'all let us know if you like the Zoom better. It also goes to FaceTime, Facebook, the Facebook, goodness. What else? I think that's it. Go ahead. I think that's it.
One more thing. Can I say something, Mahogany? Which is that I see Steve Zeitlin is on here, the director of City Lore. City Lore has started a group collaborative poem about coronavirus. And if anybody wants to write some lines for it, it's just growing huge, just like it's a virus of poetry. Wow. So just get in touch with me or go to City Lore or something like that. And everybody's in. It's an inclusive kind of, let's do it.
Cool. Thank you. The coronavirus poem. How can we get in touch with them?
Well,
citylore.org?
Citylore, CITYLORE.org, or write to me, Bob Holman, poet@gmail. Right.
Very good. Thanks, Bob.
It Takes a Pandemic is the title.
Yikes. It does. Any other things that we have going on coming up? I said all the books. Awesome. And on the count of 3, I just need y'all to make thunderous applause. Now you can clap. Now they can hear you. 1, 2, 3. Give it up for everyone that you heard.
Hey. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, y'all.
That's so cool.
See you again. See you soon. Be safe. Stay home.
Yes, stay safe. Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.